Welcome to Fantasy Legends, my name's Scott, and today we'll be discussing one of Final Fantasy VI's main ensemble cast, Umaro. Before we get into it, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help me out. Now let's get on with the video. For those of you that don't know, Umaro is a playable character in Final Fantasy VI who is a yeti-like creature that lives in the Nashe Mines. He is mainly friends with Moogles, as we see throughout the game, and especially his relationship with Mog. He is an optional character that can be recruited in the world of Ruin. He is quite unique in the fact that he is a yeti, and we don't really see that in the Final Fantasy series. So he's one of the more unique characters in Final Fantasy VI. Interestingly, in the games, his fur has changed colour from white to blue to purple, depending on the appearance on like the mobile version or the Steam version. So I'm unsure of his actual canon colour, but it seems to change depending on what they decide on that version of the game. Umaro, being a yeti, has very limited speech and mostly communicates through grunts and groans. However, what makes him an interesting character is his relationship with Mog, as Mog actually declares himself as Umaro's boss, and they seem to have a deep relationship between the two of them. Due to this relationship with Mog, he also feels a deep loyalty to the rest of the party, which he probably wouldn't have felt if it wasn't for his relationship with Mog, as he doesn't seem to have that connection with the other characters in the game. Now, Hironobu Sakaguchi has actually spoken on Umaro in the past and said that he has a strong sense of honour and feels like he owes a debt to Mog because Mog shared food with him when he collapsed from exhaustion. When we do get to recruit Umaro in the World of Ruin, we actually do have to fight him as a boss battle, which I found quite interesting, as it's nice to actually, get a fight from the character before you meet them as well, because it sort of develops, their fight style, how they act, things like that. So it was quite nice that way. It reminds me of Amarant in Final Fantasy IX. Now, once the party subdue Umaro, Mog orders him to join them. Umaro agrees and goes to wait for the party on the airship. Now, when you do recruit him, in terms of gameplay style, he is unique from the party, like most of the party members from Final Fantasy VI, with them each having a specified class. His class is actually a Berserker type, which you can't actually give him commands. He has a very high physical damage, but however, he just circles through the 4 main commands that he has, but there's no reliable way to know which one he would use, which puts you obviously at a big disadvantage in a lot of fights. Because of this reason, I would not recommend Umaro as a main party member unless you're very experienced, as it makes it very hard to strategize when you don't know which attack he's going to use at what time. This weakness does become a strength in a couple of areas in the game, however. In the Cultist Tower, for example, the restrictions on physical attacks do not apply to Umaro, which is brilliant because most of the enemies have really bad physical defense, hence why they made that part of the game, the restriction on physical attacks. This just means that even though his attacks are unreliable, he will smash through that tower. It will make it much easier area to complete. Another area of the game that he shines is the Dragon Neck Colosseum, where all of the party members' actions are random. This is a great advantage to Umaro because his is always random, and they're all physical attacks, and they're all very powerful attacks, because obviously you don't know what you're going to get. So to balance this off, the developers created it so all his attacks were sort of powerful in a way. So it just makes him very brilliant at this area. Another great way to use Umaro is the Snow Smuffler. This is his permanent armour. However, due to his affinity with ice, this means that every time he takes ice damage, it actually heals him. Obviously, this can be exploited in many ways, so it's great against any enemy that uses ice attacks. Being an optional character, he doesn't play a very major role in the game. He opens a few doors, smashes a few things in the story, but in terms of actual, main story, he doesn't really play a huge role. However, I did like him for the fact that he is quite unique in being a yeti. I wish that some of the later Final Fantasy games had more races in them. We see a lot of races in the Final Fantasy worlds, but very often they're not playable characters, which I always feel is a shame. So I'd like to know what you guys think. Was he a character that you use? Was he a character that you found annoying due to the fact that his attacks were random and you couldn't, strategize on what you were going to do? Please let me know in the comments down below. Please let me know if you like the fact that he was an addition to Final Fantasy VI. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for listening.